Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
Really trying to, think of the year ahead. And the one thing that I really like to stay away from is the whole New Year's resolution thing of like, new year, new me. Oh my God.
Shut the fuck up. Not you.
And to me, it's just, I think that, there are people that, take that seriously. And that, do stick to it. It's just like, people that, do consistently go to the gym or whatever. We know that, gym memberships spike at the beginning of the year because people are wanting to get healthier. We know that.
Why do you got to wait till January?
Right. Because I think it's like getting past the holidays, where it's like, well, I pounded everything I wanted to. Now I'm just going to burn it all off. And by February, you haven't gone. You know? So, but again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I like to think in terms of like goals, because I think New Year's resolutions have this mentality where it's like a sudden life change, where it's like, I'm going to make this big drastic decision and that's going to, help me in these, 4 or 5 ways or this one specific way. Whereas goals, I find that, there's something that can kind of stay, I don't want to say stay in purgatory, but it's one of those things where it's like, you're actively working on this thing, and it's, it's present, but it's not quite, there yet, but you are putting some things together to try to make those things happen. And tonight, like, it's really not going to be about the channel or about our lives specifically. It can be anything. Is that if you have a goal to learn to crochet by the end of the year, that's a goal, to me, like, that's how I'm kind of looking at it. Now, self-admittedly, my stuff is more creatively oriented with certain things, but I still have one kind of fun one that I may start with. That's just that is more entertainment for myself, I guess you could say. But that's kind of how tonight's working, is that we're just gonna hang out. You guys kind of get a view, I guess, maybe a little bit of like some kitchen talk or whatever. Like we're gonna, it's okay. It's not gonna be as raw as kitchen talk, because that's just where, like, when there's no one around, it's where you and I can really just talk very bluntly about things and and work through stuff. But I think this is going to kind of give them a little bit of insight to kind of what it's like.
I would agree. I would say our daily and nightly kitchen talk is more so in the fact of it is subject based as far as like the channel and stuff, the channels and stuff, but it's not subject based like something like this.
Yeah.
We will go from saying something about making a Ronnie t-shirt to, going on to, where we need to travel to go eat something. So it's still the same thing as far as the show, but it's two drastically different things. Right. And that'll go within a second. So it's like, this is kind of like a kitchen talk because, this is things we would discuss. Right. But it would just be more so in the fact of like that and then a bunch of other stuff. So guys, he is right. Like this is kind of like a little bit into our nightly life, I guess.
Yeah, and if you're somebody that's new and if you haven't heard of Kitchen Talk, that's essentially what makes everything happen. That's how we make big decisions. That's how we pull the Hugo Martin thing from id Software, and it's one of the things I love the most is when we talk about something and if it feels good, but if it's not like either not feasible or if we're not sure, it's that whole idea of steer into that. Yeah, that feels good. Steer into that, and that's really like what it comes down to. Now, like we've had times where things have been tough, and like we've had to work through things. There's also some nights that we kind of just celebrate. And it's like we take those couple of hours to, kind of like after the podcast tonight, I can guarantee that there will be at least some kind of conversation that will happen. And
I'm going to edit and then we'll have a Welver kitchen talk. Then I'm going to go play Call of Duty.
Yeah, right. So, and that's, that's basically what we've done to make everything happen. And we started it like, I don't know like when it first happened, but I do know that it was arguably before the Black Foam. Because it like we would like have moments of, like, because like we didn't really even know what it was. We just thought, we're talking about stuff, but then it became like this consistent thing.
I think you and I have realistically always done some kind, like, I know that we didn't live together for a large stint of our lives, in between, like, us being like grown-ups, I guess. But I think in a sense, we've always had a kitchen talk in a sense where when when we weren't being like creative like this, as far as like a YouTube channel or a podcast, I think that there was always, because you were always doing your like, editing or your movie stuff or whatever and trying things. So I think kind of inadvertently you would like talk to me about stuff like that, and we would just kind of, it might not have been as involved, but it was kind of always like that, or showing each other music before the channel.
Yeah.
So like it kind of, I feel like always has, but you're right. As far as a YouTube standpoint, I would actually argue before that it would have been in the basement when you actually got the first one of these.
Yeah, the Rodecaster.
The Rodecaster, because we kind of just had basement talk at that time when I was like, just fucking buy it, man.
Right.
Like
thank God you did. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like you already had your budget out of how much it wasn't going to cost you in the grand scheme of things. But I'm like, dude, you already know that this is doable. Just do it. And I would say then, as far as like a channel or a YouTube standpoint, that it's been years, dude.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah. It's I think it's just something natural that, you know, has, you know, it's just been around longer than we've, you know, even realized, you know. So,
and like you said, we didn't even realize what it was at the time. Now I feel like we almost kind of have this like unspoken like rule that like we just do it every day because we know what it does.
Well, I think we also can't shut up about it,
right?
You know? So it's because it's just, you know, because we've talked about it where, you know, if you want to be a YouTuber, that it is a lifestyle. Like, so it's like your mind is always on it. You're always thinking of things. You're chewing on stuff or whatever. So,
and even when people say it's still the same concept of like being your own boss, even if you still work another job, but like the fact of, the joke is, no, I don't work for the man anymore. I am the man. And I quit my 40-hour-a-week job to work 150 a week because I don't stop.
Yeah.
Kitchen talk, coming in here, like this is work. Like, not to be funny, guys, like this is work. Like this is what we do. And then we're going to go out and talk. And then I stand in the shower and think about things. And then I do, like, it doesn't stop, man.
Yeah.
And it is kind of crazy that, like you said, this is a lifestyle. You really have to want it, and you really have to like it. Yeah, because that honeymoon phase goes out real quick.
Right. I think that also like kind of like getting into like the goals and things is that, you know, we've like let me ask you this, is that, you know, as far as 2023 is concerned, and I'm not looking for anything specific, but as a whole, when it comes to life, YouTube, you know, everything, how did your 2023 go? Like, how are you feeling about this year and then going into 2024?
2023 was weird. It was weird. So let's take my YouTube channel out of it, right? For the moment, as far as like, you know, 100,000 subscribers. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Like, I'm not saying like, but I'm just saying like, okay, yeah, that's great. But as far as like my actual life, it was weird. You know, I had the court thing with my daughter, you know, and, you know, just issues in general, like, you know, my own demons that I've battled privately or even publicly with, you know, family or, you know, my girlfriend and stuff. But I don't want to say money issues, but like, it's just there were things that like I had to do. And, you know, so like all that being said, then I got my son back. You know, I essentially won my case for, you know, my little girl from what I wanted and then some. You know, the channel was taking off. You know, I quit my job. Like 2023 was fucking weird for me,
bro. And can I just say this from like the outsider, you know, of you having your personal experience with life? It has been like, I mean this in a good way. It's been very jarring,
right?
Like where it's like, because it's one of those that, you know, I'm very used to a dynamic that is, you know, present in your life that's been there for a long time. And the fact that it's just like the dynamic has changed in such a wonderful way, it's wild to me. Like I, you know, if YouTube was the only thing that happened where you're able to be where you are now, you know, where it's like, cool, like I don't have to go to work on Monday or things like that. Like that alone would have been extravagant.
Oh, for sure.
But it was just like this whole idea of like, you know, yeah, this happened. I had to work my ass off for this for a little while, but now it's done. It's here and now it's happening. And I don't know, just from my perspective, I can definitely, I get it because it's just like that is one of the things that has left me in awe. Like whenever I look at like what's happened is that I'm like, wow, like it's like this, I think that, you know, the the grinding, the praying, the, you know, everything like that. Like, you know, it's like I know that we have a very unique relationship with our Lord and Savior, but in the same hand is that it's like, nah, dude, like this is like things are working. And it's, you know, and that's right. That's what's really like interesting to me, you know, is that it's cool to be able to see that in somebody that I care about so much, because it's like I've been able to see it firsthand, you know, because I've lived with you. So like I know what's been going on.
And I was going to say it the same with you. Like I could almost argue the same with you. Like you had a very odd and like, you know, maybe, you know, some downer moments, but also some really big moments and stuff. Like you've gone through just as much, just in different ways.
Sure.
And I've like, again, seeing it firsthand, you know, living with you, it's like, you know, you kind of like, you understand that person. So you go, okay, well, something's wrong or something really good is happening or like, you know, whatever. And, you know, I'm really excited for your podcast that we're doing right now. Like it has, you finally focused. And I don't mean that you were just, but like you finally got to focus on it, get the room the way you wanted it, the room to do it. Yeah. And a lot of grinding. You've been doing a lot of grinding too, man, on top of work, your actual 40-hour-a-week job. Right. That also requires you to travel. So you have that thrown in there or going in early, staying late. Like you haven't had it just rainbows and sunshines either, man. Like it's been a lot of work and grinding on your end too. And to help me with my channel.
Well, I mean, honestly, like when I think of 2023 is that it's, you know, because you can look at life in one of two ways, is that you can either look at it as to why are these things happening or what's next, you know, and that's really like what I've tried to really like think for myself moving forward is that, you know, it's like January is literally like this weekend, you know, so it's like, which is crazy to me because again, like, you know, if I had been living on my own, like, and I was like not like really connected with anybody, I probably would have woken up at like noon on Christmas and been like, oh shit,
it's Christmas.
Yeah. So like, cause there's been some years like I've almost forgotten my birthday and like until I come home and you're like, hey man, like, and I'm like, what's the occasion? You're like, bro, it's your birthday. Like, you know, so I feel like Peter Parker, you know, where it's like,
dude.
You know, Aunt May, Harry, and Mary Jane Watson are sitting in the room like, bro, here's your cake. Like, you know, so, but no, starting off with like my first one is that this is purely just fun.
Yeah. I wanted to get to that.
So, look, you know me, I'm not a big TV show watcher. You know, it's like that's something where it's like I'm not like somebody that, you know, is going to binge a show. The only one that I think that I really binged and it was with you was Squid Game. So it's like that was, you know, I absolutely loved that show. It was really good, you know, but like as far as like where it's something like brand new and like you're taking in like, you know, 4 episodes a day because like you just like can't get enough, you know.
Oh God, what are we gonna watch?
I want to finish Game of Thrones this year.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. So now, guys, just to give a little context is that we started Game of Thrones well before anything ever changed in the house, before the channel was ever even thought of. That was something that like I had gotten through a decent amount.
Wow, was it that long ago?
I've been dragging my feet on Game of Thrones so much.
Well,
so,
we to be fair, we plowed through. Well, for you, we plowed through The Office and Big Bang Theory.
True.
So don't do yourself like that in the fact of, you know, oh, I just didn't. But no, man, we had other shit we were watching. But thank God.
Yeah.
And thank God.
Now, to be fair, is that I'm a very unique viewer of Game of Thrones because I got to see the entire fan base blow up every single week on Facebook.
Sure.
You know, it's almost like kind of like Walking Dead, where it was like, stay away from the internet if you don't want to know anything, because now memes are being made of like certain things or like spoilers out of context or whatever. So I will tread lightly here unless if just in case if anybody's not seen the show and if, you know, they do want to see it. But I kind of know everything that does happen that are big plot points where it's like, okay, like, well, this is going to be the season. This is going to happen. This is going to be the season. This is going to happen or things like that. And my main thing is that I've tried to view Game of Thrones much like how I viewed Fight Club. Was that Fight Club has a very significant twist in the movie that if you've never seen it, it is mind blowing. And then when you watch the movie again, it's a different movie.
Correct.
So I had the twist spoiled for me. So I never really watched it because I was like, well, I'm like, why would I watch this if I know everything that's going to happen? When I finally sat down and watched Fight Club and realized just how genius it was.
Wait, you had Fight Club ruined for you?
I did, yeah. And that was something that I was really angry about because I knew that it was like a big staple for like a lot of my friends or whatever. Again, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that's not seen it, but it's one of those that like when it happens, it just makes your stomach drop into your balls. You're like, are you shitting me right now?
Right.
Like, this is what's been happening or whatever. So
because I thought you were talking about Game of Thrones because I was like, well, no, you said you just know that Jon Snow doesn't get it. You don't know who gets it, and you don't know the build up to everything as far as. But yeah. Okay, I was like, wait, I thought you said you didn't know.
Yeah, no. But for instance, like I know like certain characters that survive throughout. I know certain characters that die in Game of Thrones.
Sure.
And what's been interesting to me is that even with knowing certain things, although the Red Wedding was something that I didn't know about and I thought I knew about, and
you were kind of close.
Yeah,
you were like on the right track. You were on the right track. Well, no, you said speaking of deaths, I think the one that got ruined for that you haven't seen yet is Ramsay. You said that's the one that got ruined for you. Like you saw a clip of him being like on a talk show, but even at that, like you said, the build-up's going to be cool.
Well, it's because
guys, we're right about like I don't want to say anything like you said. I don't want to ruin anything, but the Hodor thing happened. How about that?
Yeah, and I do know that the Battle of the Bastards is coming, so like that's been so I'm in a very unique place with the show because like I know that season 8 was aggressively divisive, and I've had friends of mine that have died on the hill of like, no, this was a fantastic ending. This is why this needed to happen. And then there's other friends of mine who I know that are very, I guess you could say very sound in like nerd lore of like being super into things, whether it's like Warcraft or if it's in like Lord of the Rings or things like that, where they understand the stuff. And their opinion of it was that this was a pathetic excuse, not only for story, but they talked about, I guess, that there's some point that the, color grading for one of the episodes or like a certain portion of maybe the whole season is so dark that it made Alien versus Predator Requiem look brighter. So because one of my friends was like, dude, you as a filmmaker, you are going to watch this and it's just going to give you a migraine.
I think, but I'm pretty sure they fixed it.
Oh, did they?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Even at that, guys, I know that there's a lot, probably going to be quite a few fans in here eventually, like over time. Mm-hmm. As for right now, do not spoil anything for Kyle because all he knows up to like, I think we're on season 5.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think we're on season 6, maybe.
We might be on season 6. Yeah. Okay.
In that spectrum of things, maybe.
Anyways, guys, but like, so I just wanted to make that clear too. Like, don't spoil anything because he doesn't know everything, but he knows certain things. But
yeah. So that's definitely something I would say that is just going to be a fun thing. You know, it's like, you know, being able to, pick up, episodes whenever. Like, I don't know if it'll be a consistent thing where it's like, oh, we watch 2 a week or 1 a week or whatever. But I'm just me personally, dude. Brie is my girl. Like as Arya is your girl. I love Brie. Brie is just like, she has so much honor and is just it is just leveled in the right way where it's like, for her to bow to Sansa and just be like, like, I'm here to serve you. Like it took so long to find you, and like that's something that I really love in stories is when it's like when you have a character that has been fighting tooth and nail to get to their destination. And the brilliant thing is that her journey is not done. This is probably only the beginning of what's going to come. So, so like I'm excited to see where these characters end up. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. But again, like my thing is, my main purpose for finishing Game of Thrones is to get context. Because I know a lot of things out of context. I want to know why we get to this point.
I want to finish it because I actually selfishly want to watch it with you or her or both. But I want to watch House of the Dragon. Yeah. So you need to finish that so that we can watch the other thing.
See, well, there's also the part of me that's like, it's a prequel, so I guess like it probably wouldn't matter too much because it's like 1,000 years or something before the events.
I don't know actually. Like I don't know that part, but I guess you're right. I never really thought of it that way. That you technically probably could watch it because you'd be leading up to where you're at now. So,
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's a fun one
Hell
for me.
yeah.
So, but
Okay.
yeah, nevertheless. So I am curious as far as your goals. What are you looking forward to in 2024? What are you trying to do?
Well, there is, you know, there's a part of me that, you know, wanted to say a bunch of stuff, right? And it's like, yeah, you know, like you said, oh, the new year, new me. Well, I did start my, I guess, better eating, you know, a couple weeks ago, months ago, whatever. And, you know, the whole gym thing, I did do that, but with having my little girl and then the channel and all this stuff, like it just like time, like I just need a home gym for that. So anyways, my point is that it was the channel. And what one of them is just to, I guess, and I don't mean this in a selfish way or like to boast or anything, but kind of maybe double what it makes and all this stuff, you know, as far as like what we're able to do, what we can maybe get for the show, travel for the show. You know, we are good at it. And that is a humble brag. Like you get told it enough times, you start to think it, but it's just the fact of, I know that we can do this is what I'm getting at. And with the way that we do work, I think it's doable. We already have the work ethic. We have the like schedule down, like all of these things. It's just kind of one of those, the kitchen talks and what's the next thing? What's the next big thing? What's the next fun thing?
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is. And I think it's just more so in the fact of just focusing on that. And I keep saying it, but social medias that I need to just like promote more and do things like that. Like if I want this to happen, I have to do these things. You know, I have no excuse. I don't work a real job anymore. So I have all the time. I need to focus that energy on that if I want to be able to do these things. And it's just the fact of, you know, I don't need hundreds of millions of dollars and, you know, be a Mr. Beast and like, no, man, like, I just need to know that this is working and that people want more of it and that I can do this for a living forever, theoretically.
Right.
And it's just, that is the thing, is that I have to make sure that I do that where I maybe it's like writing it down every day or, you know, putting something in my, you know, my reminder to go off. It's like, oh, check this or do this. Grinding, man. Not that we don't do it already. I think that I just need to focus my mindset on a different way to grind and do more of it because I've seen what we've already done. I see what it like gave us. And I'm not tired. And I mean that in the fact of like, I'm not exhausted at the end of every day. The amount of work to payoff ratio is very different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the workload is not that much.
No. And
so that's mine.
Well, because I think that it's also too, is that, you know, some people have this mentality that, you know, the time that you're filming is the, you know, the main thing or whatever. And it's like, and to me, it's like, if I could compare it to anything, it's kind of like, you know, being on stage with a band that tours where it's like, nah, dude, like, it's like when you're on stage, that's awesome, you know, and but there's touring, there's press, there's writing a new album, there's interviews, there's all those different things. And so I don't know, like to me, like it makes me in some ways weary to tell people to pursue this because it's one of those that like the stuff that we do is just second nature. You know,
is.
And, you know,
Well,
yeah, because I mean, it was a process that we had to learn, you know, and it was, you know,
it wasn't easy, man, or pretty,
bro. It's like screwing up, you know, so much and then, you know, being victorious in a lot of things. And it's just, it's something that, you know, especially like anybody that does listen to this that wants to be a content creator is that like you need to be prepared, like especially if you're going to be working with somebody else because you and I live together. So it's everything is very easy to do where it's like it's not the hey, like, you know, when's Eric going to be here, you know, for the past like 2 years. It's been like when dinner's done, let's go record or whatever. So like, you know, and again, it's one of those where, you know, anything can be done. And we've met people that have, you know, had multiple people that have been involved in shows that have done well and that haven't gone well. And it's so it's like it depends on the people. It depends on how you're doing it. And me personally, I think that, you know, to ask like, you know, the doubling, you know, of things, you know, for a goal, that's the beautiful thing about a goal is that, you know, even if you don't hit exactly that, you're working towards it will bear fruit.
Yes.
You know, so and that to me, like, it's exciting because, you know, if we're able to, you know, actually able to like travel to other states and stuff to be able to solely be a shut up and eat it thing where it's like, you know, again, it's really awesome. But in the same hand is that, you know, there's the other part of it where it's like, nah, man, it's like this stuff is tax write off. Like this is a business, you know, it's all that stuff. And it's learning to juggle those things. It's learning to do all that. And, you know, that's one of the things I've said to you many times, especially financially, is through everything, is that it's like, look, dude, if you are obedient in the small things, you'll be obedient in the big things. And I think that, you know, while we've not been perfect, I think that we have considered that the most because it's the necessary, you know, just unfortunate thing is that money is needed. You know, and that's so it's the idea of that. OK, like let's say that we do pull in a big number collectively of what we're making on YouTube. OK. Our first mindset is, how do we make the show happen? Okay, like, you know, what is our take home? How does this affect our bills? Okay, what is this, you know, like, what can we, you know, prepare for? And like, you know, the whole idea of like, you know, get your crops ready even if there's no rain, like prepare for the rain. Correct. You know, and I don't know, like it's fun to me because I think that, you know, we've been able to dream and do a lot with what we have already. So what could happen if we have more to be able to work with or more time or whatever? Like that's time. That's because that's the other factor into everything too, is that it's like, you know, like what are you going to do with that? How is your time going to be spent? You know, and that's so I don't know.
That's the most valuable thing on the planet.
Yeah. Right.
In my opinion. Yeah. Time is the most valuable thing on this planet. Like, I don't know, like that has really been instilled in me the last couple of years, but yeah. And that's what this takes. So it's like, this is important to me because it is taking up a lot of that for me. You know, I know how to balance it when I have my little girl or, you know, my son or whatever, or, you know, going to Meg's or something like that. But at the same time, I have to figure out how to balance that because it is very precious to me. Yeah. I don't want to work all the time when Chandler's here. That's the biggest thing for me is I try to make sure all of that is done before she gets here when I have her so that I don't have to work. Yeah. You know, but yeah, that is, oh man, time. Fuck. Yeah. Hate that.
It is ticking and it is not stopping.
Right.
You know,
so, but no, that like I said, that was mine. It's just, you're right. In the fact of, unfortunately, it does take, you know, money and things like that to run these things, but I'm not going to be upset if it's not like, oh, it didn't hit, you know, but you're right. When you're working towards something, you're so focused on that grind and that come up that you're not that you're not noticing, but you're like, fine, okay, I was this close. Right. So what did I do wrong or what can I fix? So like you're always just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of fun for me. Yeah. Because it's almost like, okay, how do I beat myself, you know, this time next year? Like I want to win.
It's like, it's kind of almost like your, you know, own personal game of track. You know, right? It's like it's just. I mean, not that I mean, you don't look at me and think I run track, but you know, but no, I mean, it is to me. I think that, you know, just like I understand that there's like plenty of things that happened in our favor, you know, in the past like year and a half or 2 years that have been very freakish. It is not of our own doing, you know, even though it's like, yes, we made content and we did things like that, but you know, it's to me, it's the idea of that. Okay, well, you know, I think that there's also an opportunist kind of side to what we do where it's like, okay, let's jump on this. Okay, let's try this or oh, like, you know, let's, you know, put these eggs in this basket or do this or do that, you know? And so I don't know. I think that, you know, let's see what 365, you know, kitchen talks do for us, you know, and, you know, cause that's just, you know, I love, you know, looking back, you know, at the year and going, wow, like, you know, things are drastically different, you know, and we can measure it, you know, from one way or another, you know, and that's, you know, so going into 2025, it, you know, it makes me wonder what the Goals podcast will be like and like talking about like, okay, like, you know, like what, like how did it go? You know, it's like how was everything?
Like, all right, now I'm trying to double it this year.
So, I want $1 billion. No, but no, man, I concur with that, man. I think that it's, even if, you know, the exact increment of doubling is not, you know, possible, I still think that there is going to be an undeniable growth that will happen in some shape or form. You know, Agreed. You know, it's from Riker Road to whether it's, you know, to Patreon or if it is the Cavecast or, you know, the TikTok or anything like that. Is that
maybe merch takes off some, you know, like stuff like that. Like, no, right. Like it's just it's, you know, we think about everything, all of those things. We talk about all of those things every single day. It doesn't get boring. And you're right. Like there's a part of me that just thinks like, you know, with this being a lifestyle and everything, like it's going to work.
Yeah.
Like it already has. And, you know, you're right. Like what's it going to be like for the 2025 one? And it just, it's crazy to think about that because it seems like it's so far in the future, but it's not.
No, it'll be here tomorrow.
Right.
Like it will literally be here tomorrow. And that's actually something that is on my mind as well, too, with my next goal is that I've had quite a bit of a struggle recently to get guitars to work. And, you know, it is basically if you've ever tried to record in a certain room in your house and if there's an appliance that is causing interference or something, you know, it's like, and if you're not tech savvy enough to, you know, protect your guitar in that way, the only solution is to move to another room, you know, and to, you know, try to get the clearest signal as possible. And I actually didn't even get a chance to tell you this because I had to go to bed early last night to wake up, you know. But last night, I actually used the room not for guitar, but I wrote the next scary story that's coming out.
Oh, you finally? Well, you had said something about that you had gotten some more like on the I don't want to say it out loud, but like that one. And I was like, oh, okay. I figure, he'll probably record it here soon. So you actually snuck it in, huh?
Well, I didn't record it. Okay. I'm actually, what I found was that, and this is for anybody that wants to do like horror narrations, this is something to keep in mind is that when I wrote The Devil's Triangle, I think it was maybe 3.5 pages. And that ended up being a decently, you know, length video. And I was like, okay, so even if I wanted to pump out a couple of short stories or things like that, like there's, you know, like even if it's like 6 minutes, you know, it's like this can be, you know, enough to like, you know, make people want to check out what's going on, you know, with the thumbnail and things like that. But I got 5 pages and I think like 2 or 3 sentences. That's what I hit last night. And,
oh shit! Okay,
I got to reread it and make sure that you know it's good. You know, because it's like it's that whole Randy Feldface thing where it's like I'm afraid it might be a beat. It might be a bit shit. You know, so
the first draft's always shit.
Always. Yeah. So, but no, that's something that I've really been missing a lot, and it's just you know from the way that we function and stuff with the studio, it's like, you know, essentially the time that I would set aside to, you know, to produce music or to record scary stories or to write them or whatever would be on the weekends that I would be here by myself, you know, where it's like, oh, cool. Like I've got the studio like completely like for 12 hours, like I can sit in here and do whatever I'm doing. And what I found was that it's like, when I kind of like had that restriction, I don't want to say that it like made it worse or better, but there was this like unknowing longing I had for like, man, like if I could just have like a small room, you know, and I've had a small room for however long, it's just been filled with, you know, random shit. But
the day you bought the house, Kyle.
Yeah,
You've
right.
had it since then.
So it's like, you know, it's just been storage. It's been all that stuff. But now that all that stuff's been moved out, because that's essentially what I did, you know, for my, you know, I guess you could say my Christmas time was that it's like, you know, I had the house to myself and I was like, you know, screw it, I'll go and throw on like, you know, throw on some, you know, game reviews and like watch that Trav guy or whatever review the Doom DLC, you know, for the 100th time or whatever. And like, and
it's background noise, man.
It just, it was good, man. And I have spent, you know, some, you know, decent like time down there, you know, messing around with like the 8-string that I got and everything. So it's like things are just working better. And what I found was that I had this excitement show up in me last night. Was that as I was putting things to paper, or rather typing it on Google Docs, but I was just like, man, I'm like, I remember like this kind of feels like how I felt when I wrote Devil's Triangle. This felt like how I, you know, felt whenever I was writing I Ran Hell for a Day, you know, so I've got some other ideas that I've kind of made relevant to the middle. Because that's one of the things that I've been trying to do is like write this bigger story. But I guess you could say like my Trojan horse in a way is that, okay, well, I'm not ready to take on this Titan yet, but if I could at least flesh out some ideas and think of, well, you know, this is like maybe not the same universe, but it's like these are some of the same creatures or this is the same kind of mentality. Like what happens when I play with this? What happens when, you know, I do this or whatever? Also doing St. Judas tapes, like that's something that I really want to do again. I'm excited to tie that into the bigger story that Luke is telling with the stories that he wants to do. You know, like there's a lot of cool stuff, and I'm I'm looking forward to also being able to travel to see Uncle Steve. And I already talked to him about it. And I was like, hey, what do you think about, reading some lines for me if I bring down some gear? And
hell yeah.
And he's like, I would love that so much. He's like, you tell me what the character is. He's like, we'll do this. Our Uncle Steve has done theater for an umpteen amount of years, and he's just damn good at it.
Oh yeah.
And I've been threatening to get him involved for a while. And that just, to me, like, that's like the platinum of what I could put out is like for me personally. But, I'm really excited to get Christina involved again, because that was one of the first things I ever, approached her about, which if you guys want to see her interview, it's on the Cavecast. I'll make sure it's in the either in the description or in the card above. But, she just has an understanding of giving the director what they want. And, because even when she did the intro for the Cavecast, it was just she wrote back and she was like, do you want a Skype call and talk about like the inflection? Like, how do you want these words to be said? And I'm like, this is somebody that I want to work with.
Well, she's professional, man.
Right. And it's because it's just, like some people think that it's as simple as going in front of a mic, saying it and walking it away.
Hell no.
There is so much craft that's getting put into it.
If that were the case, everybody would do it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I know that I've been told, well, we both have, that we have radio voices and all this stuff. I can't fucking voice act. Yeah. I've never, to be fair, I don't think I've ever really tried, but hell no, man. That is pure talent and professionalism at its finest. Hell, you sitting in there doing my intro for Riker Road, you did probably 10, 12 takes of that. It was the second take we ended up picking, but it doesn't matter. You were like, fuck it. And you knew the goal. We sat there just like she did, and you were like, which inflection do you like? Mm-hmm. And that was the one. So yeah, man, it's because she's professional and she's good at what she does.
Yeah. It's, and it's being able to find more talent. Also, use my friends around me as well too. Like, cause even with Soul Trapper, which is one of Luke's stories that has a lot of characters, like when him and I were talking about it, I was like, look, dude, you and I probably could limp through this and cover these 13 characters or whatever it is, but let's get 13 different people, or let's let, 6 people diverse, put like almost like delegate all these roles and let different voices happen.
Kind of like doing like a what's his face? Like, Seth MacFarlane or something, where it's like, he doesn't play everybody, but cause I think I said that to you guys before, where it's like, I remember listening to something. It's not that you don't do good voices. You do.
Yeah.
One of the things that took me out was I could tell both roles or 3 roles were you.
Yeah.
And so now I understand what you mean, where it's like, well, no, we have 13 people. Let's try to find 10 people to at least fill these roles. Smart. Yeah. So like I get it.
Yeah. Cause I mean, with all, I guess you could say like the overarching thing with my goal. Cause I even told Eric where I'm like, I really only have like 2 tonight. Cause like, that's really like the 2 things I was laser focused on, because one being that it's like, one is just to sit back and relax and enjoy. And I guess you could say maybe the other one has that, nature to it too. But in the same hand is that I don't know, like I've got to drive. I've got, this, this fire that, is, I wouldn't say it can't be quenched, but the coals have shown flames again, and that's something, cause Scary Stories for me, like that's, I guess you could say like that's like my main big goal, because I know the podcast is going to happen. I know Riker Road is going to happen, and we're going to discover those things along the way because you and I work together. Whereas when it comes to the Scary Stories, that's all produced out of me. So it's like, okay, what do I do to essentially, like make this interesting, make this fun? Is it doing what I used to do, which is, relying on other people's stories, to be able to tell their true stories, because that's something that I love doing when TikTok kind of like hit big for me.
Sure.
Bob the Demon, was, like the whole, paranormal thing. And I'm like, well, I kind of have like a paranormal driven audience. So what would happen if I put out a TikTok of saying, hey guys, here's the 3 qualifications for the stories. They have to be true. They have to be all your original work. And, and there was like, I put like a list of things to make sure that, the third one was, that you give me full permission to tell your story if you send it in. So, that part of it was really plentiful for a while. And there were some really scary things that happened to people. Now, assuming that they're real. But it's like, that's the stuff that I enjoy because it adds to that creep factor.
Even if they're not, then that just tells you they did a good job of making you think it was real.
Right.
So that's good. So now you get to tell it.
Yeah. And it's so to me, like, I guess you could say this is probably like a big goal, but I guess you could say that what I want is I want people to hide in the comments of my scary story videos. Like, because that's one of the things that I found from like watching like creepypasta videos, like Jeff the Killer. Like, that's one of the like big ones that I found kind of like on my first bout of like discovering Corpse Husband and Chills and like all these like, other, like horror content creators. And I remember scrolling down just to read things. And when I came back up, Jeff the Killer's face was on the video and it made me wince. And I scrolled back down. I went far enough that somebody was like this if you're hiding in the comments. And I was like, oh my God, that's hysterical.
Hell yeah.
The 911 call that I did a while ago, there were like, that was a consistent thing that would be said on it, was that they're like, is anybody else here? Like, oh, I have milk and cookies for people in the comments or whatever. Like, I love that so much, dude. I love entertaining people, and I want to, properly scare the shit out of people, where it's because it's like, to me, like, storytelling is important, like, because it's like, look, dude, like, you can't just be like, well, I'm gonna make a monster movie and it's gonna kill everybody. Well, no, like, your characters have to drive your story. Why do I care about like this is happening to them? Do I want this to happen to them? It's like, is this like a Saw mentality where it's like, no, dude, get this asshole what he deserves. Or is it, oh my God, no, don't touch Liam or whatever. Like, it's like get away from him. Don't hurt him. Like, it's that type of thing. Like, I want to make stories that, either impact people in one way or another, whether or not it's, the whole mentality of, like, oh my God, this was a great new scary monster that he came up with, or it was, well, no, the monster doesn't matter. It's like the characters mattered through this. And it's like, because it's kind of like that It mentality where it's like, it's essentially that's funny to say. It is essentially the movie It, or the story of It, is about the friends. It's about them overcoming this, ridiculous thing.
Correct. It's not about Pennywise in the sense of what people think it is.
Right.
Because in the grand scheme of things, even at that, I think even in the book and or the movies, like, he's only in it for like this long compared to like everything else. You're right.
He's almost kind of like the driving force, or like the nature that's around them that they have to avoid.
Correct.
Or like, and I don't want to equate them, but it's kind of almost like the Walking Dead, where it's like, the zombies are there, but there's a bigger problem that's happening, so, but nevertheless, is that I'm excited to try different things and to really just, because I don't want to say that I want to bring back scary stories in full force, but my goal, along with this entire longevity thing I've been saying, is I at least want to write 5 this year. I want to write. I want to.
Okay, so you have like an actual number.
Yeah. So if I could at least, like, I mean, it could happen in the first month. It could take 12 months. But it's like, to me, it's one of those where, like, even if 5 only come out in the year, I want to make those polished. I want to make them. I want to make them intense, and I want to make them a lot of fun. And it's Well,
I mean, like, if, let's say you focus on. Here you go, guys. This is kind of like our kitchen talk right here. This is what we would do. So if you think of it this way, if you take that 5 months or 5 videos that you said in a 12-month period, right? That gives you several months to come up with each one.
Yeah.
You don't have this like stress of being like, fuck, man, it's Thursday. I need to record on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't got anything.
Right.
You have this like, all right, you know what? The first scary story came out 4 days ago. I have 2 months.
Yeah.
I need to, every day sit down and write, 3 sentences or a paragraph or something like that.
Sure.
Like, look at it that way, man, where you kind of have this buffer zone, if you will. You've given yourself a feasible goal. You have something that you really want to do. It's not that you're dreading doing this. It is like, this is very, very, very creative that you have to come up with on your own.
Yeah.
You're pulling stuff literally out of the fucking air.
Right.
So giving yourself that kind of time and, I don't want to say a limit, but like, a small goal as fact of, how many you want to put out. That's great, because you're not going to, I don't feel like you're going to, hold yourself down like you kind of were. And the fact of, I got to get this out. I got to grind. I got to do that. You are grinding at that point, man. But you're grinding it at a different pace, I guess. You're taking it, and like you said, you want to make it polished, right? You don't want it to just be some shitty fucking scary story or half-assing it or, ripping off somebody else's stuff or whatever it is just to get something done.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you can do this. You know that it works, and you know that you have all of the cool toys and all of the things to make it work correctly.
Yeah.
Now you have to be able to do it with all of those things. We've said it before where it's like, you can buy all these thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Doesn't mean you know what to do with it.
Yeah, no.
Doesn't mean
equipment does not make you better.
Right.
No.
So no, man, I think that, dude, that's a really good one. Like in the fact of giving yourself that many and then giving yourself that amount of time. You didn't say 5 and 6 months.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I think there's something to that. So yeah, definitely steer into that. So yeah, guys, that is a real, like almost like a real conversation that would normally happen with us.
It's kind of weird. We're kind of giving them the keys to the kingdom a little bit.
Yeah, that did feel, because I kind of like blocked the camera and I was like, no, this is real kitchen talk.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I guess you could say like what I want to hone into is eternal horror. That's something like, because that's really the main thing that drives the middle, is that we have cosmic horror. You have these different things where like cosmic horror is something that you can't really articulate and understand. And I think eternal horror, which I don't even know if that's a real subgenre of writing or not, but to me, it's one of those where it's like, no, like I love playing with eternity. I love like having that, because essentially you can do whatever you want, so it's like that to me. I want to have no restrictions. So, and even if not every single story is like that, like, I've got, kind of like a slight vampire story that I want to tell, but it's in my own like way of like, no, like this is not what you think it is. Because that's the one thing I try to do, is at least make sure that it's interesting. Of
course.
So, but
of course you got to, man.
So, but nevertheless, let's do this. Let's see. Give me one of your other goals. So what else you got?
This one, it's not going to be, I don't think, a very long-winded one, but I will say a quick runner-up that I was going to say. It kind of went with the first one. Is I really think I want to try and focus on. We were talking about this the other night, but my ASMR channel that I had.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but other than that, like. Creativity aside, things like that. This last one we've kind of touched on before on shows and even like me and you, but I was trying to think of like how to like word this. Just being more still, like like in my soul, my mind, my body. I've come a long way from my past. And, we've talked before in the fact of, I have seen the devil. Mm-hmm. I've seen him firsthand, whether it be in me and other people, whatever have you. There was a very, very, very dark time in my life for well over a decade. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't the person I am. That's not who I am. And that's not who I want to be again. Now, I'm not. But the thing is that I've worked hard at that and to pull myself out of that darkness a little bit here. But in the fact of now, it's just, I still want to work on myself. Mm-hmm. I have this like vision that, I don't want my kids to see, like, everybody gets frustrated, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not like, oh, I scream and yell and throw things, but like, I just doing this where it's the fact of internalizing it almost and just being like, okay, like I see people do that and I'm like, how are they not phased?
Right.
How do you do that? Yeah. How do you have this fucking zen about you?
Right. Yeah.
I want that, man, so bad. Mm-hmm. I pray about it daily. Mm. And it's just the fact of, I don't want to be high strung, I guess is my thing. Is that I don't want to be so high strung anymore.
Yeah.
It's one of those, we joke a lot. Kyle and I have the same mentality where it's like, it could be something minor and we will fucking explode for like 6 seconds and then we move on.
Yeah.
It's like, let me freak out because I stubbed my toe and my shoelace came untied.
Yeah, right.
And it had nothing to do with that. It was the 74 other things, little things that build up. But I also think about that meme that we've talked about before. It's like, are you having a bad day or did you have a bad 5 minutes that ruined your entire day?
Right.
So I'm trying to like look at that and work on myself and just internalize things in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want to, get cancer and build an ulcer, but like, but no, it's just, I know that I have come a long way from who I was from, my early 20s to now 40. Mm-hmm. But I know that if I've done that and I have paid attention to my surroundings and things like that, I can do it more.
Yeah.
So now it's the fact of it. This is almost not that it wasn't for me before, but this is for me. I know that I'm, quote, good. I want more. I want that just calmness over me, like kind of all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard because being high strung and getting frustrated about dumb little things frustrates me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know that sounds stupid, but it's like, why am I so frustrated over the littlest thing right now?
Mm-hmm.
And then I breathe, and then I go, all right, Lord, just please help me not do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't let me just freak out because the water boiled over. God damn it. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
It's things like that. And it's just like, I know I can do it. And I just, every day when something like that happens, that's what I pray for. It's just, please just steer me in the right direction. Help me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to just stop it all at once, but just stand next to me and just put your hand on my shoulder and be like, it's fine, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Let it go.
Right.
And I think that's another thing that is a big part of is letting things go. Not just on anything in general, just in general, just letting it go. Enjoying my life. You know, we talked about time earlier, and I think that's a big part of it is that time is so precious to me that having that high strungness, I guess, about me, if that's a word, but it did and does eat up a lot of my time when I really think about it. And I don't want that anymore.
Right.
I want to just be able to focus and have fun and grow up with my kids a little bit and, you know, just do stupid things. And, you know, like, I don't know, it really has been circulating a lot for me with that. And I think that this being a goal thing tonight really like put it in perspective because it's like, no, man, it's out on the internet forever. I said it. Now I need to do it.
Right. That's I had that apprehension of saying like, yeah, I want to do this. It's like, oh, fuck, what if I don't? You know, so yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will be truthful when it comes next year where it's like, well, how did it go? And if I really hope and pray that I can say, no, it went well. Mm-hmm. You know, I am a lot more still now. I am a lot more, you know, relaxed, you know, whatever. But it just takes up so much of my life and I'm over it. I get to do almost everybody's dream job and, you know, be a stay-at-home dad and all this stuff. Why am I so high strung? You know, It's like, that's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's, yeah. I mean, if I can encourage you at all, and I think that this goes to anybody that's listening to, when the camera wasn't on me, I had pulled something up, because you talked about, this idea of being still and, you know, just stopping. There's actually, now granted, this is in context with what's happening in this Psalm, but it's actually Psalm 46:10. This is the NIV version, but I mean, read any version, you know, and take it what it is. But it's God speaking, and I love the first part of this. The first part of this, he says, be still and know that I'm God. A very brief thing was that I had a very negative thing happened in my life, I think when I was maybe in my like early 20s, and we were living in the duplex, it was kind of around the time I think that you had come back from Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like during that time when I was kind of coming in out of my adolescence and into adulthood.
Sure.
Like I'd started working at Family Dollar, like all that stuff, and I was in a position where I was really the only person, or at least from my perspective, it seemed like I was the only person from my tight group of people that I was in youth group with and, you know, in church and everything, that I was the only one that was really giving a shit about, you know, like wanting to do things right. Sure. And I got off the phone with somebody that was kind of like, you know, like my last connection to that. And they basically just said that they were done. And it's probably about like midnight at this point. And I remember laying in bed and just being so distraught. And just, you know, feeling like where I was like, am I really going to have to do this thing on my own? You know, like having, you know, close counsel with people and, you know, like taking my faith seriously, like, you know, or making my faith seriously. Cause it's like, you know, if eternity is a real thing, that should be taken seriously, you know? And it's like, that's something that, you know, weighed on me very heavily. And I remember just all these thoughts going through my head, and, you know, it's dark, nothing's happening. And I looked at the clock and I'm like, I literally have 9 hours until I have to do anything. Cause I don't think I went into work until like 9 or 10 the next day. And I just stopped, and I had this moment of like, Lord, I'm like, I don't know if I'm allowed to be mad at you, but I am. I don't know if I'm, you know, like I don't know if I'm in a position where I can even make anything better. These are my grievances that I have in this moment. This is what I'm going through. And you know all these things. And I'm frustrated that you know about these things and you're not helping, or it seems like you're not helping.
Yeah, right.
But it's kind of like that whole Dax thing with Dear God, where he's like, you know, I'm going to end this all by saying amen. You know, I'm not, you know, and it's like I had that mentality where I'm like, if Psalm 46:10 is true, I will be still and I will know that you're God. It may not make sense now, you know, it's like, but it's like having that ability of, I think that there's it's not just being still, I think, in your soul, you know, as a day-to-day thing. I think there's also a very important thing of that, being able to stop everything around you or seclude yourself for a frame of time of just like, no, I need to be still right now. I need to think about, you know, what I need to think about. I need to pray what I need to pray about. Like, I can't remember who it was, but there was some theologian or somebody that said, I have so much happening right now, I need to pray for 3 hours. Like,
you're right.
It's that type of mentality. And if that can encourage you or anybody else, man, like that's, you know, the fact that this has been the consistent thing with you is that whenever we've had deep conversations about our faith, or we've, you know, like, you know, broken open layers, is that you have said things like, you know, like, man, like I need to have my heart changed. Like, do you like, you know, I don't want this anymore. Like, you know, I want to do this, or like, I want that stuff. Like, that's all biblical ways of thinking, and like, and like being like, you're not even like reading a Bible consistently,
right.
and you're exhibiting that. And it's and the thing is that in my opinion, I think that you're showing fruit, and you're like, that's one of the big things about the fruit of the Spirit, is that those things are showing up. And especially when you ask for patience, you know, it's like, that's something where it's like asking for patience doesn't mean that, you know, oh, I'm just going to have it. It's no, you will be tested, you know, and, you know, so it's like, that's the main thing, man, is I think that, you know, going into, it's actually not a bad thing for 2024, man. Just be still.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, just, you know, like do what you're doing, you know, be still, but be active. It's that whole like, hurry up, but, you know, take your time.
Yeah.
You know, so,
well,
know,
I actually had something happen on Christmas Day that it was, you know, if people that have followed long enough know that like how much I hate Christmas and like all these things. And it was for a lot of different reasons and mixed together and whatnot. And for the first time in probably 25 plus years, I guess, things were actually really good. I wasn't so stressed out about Christmas. I wasn't, you know, like we had really nice weather. It was like 60 degrees. I didn't have to worry about traveling and snow all the time, or you know, at all this year and all this stuff. But there was some moments that were happening Christmas morning, and nothing super crazy. But one of the things happened was Chandler had asked for something.
Right.
And I got it for her, and it was the hoverboard, and it turns into the go-kart, and she's ridden the hoverboard hundreds of times. I've seen her, you know, she doesn't, and she was like afraid of it. And like I was kind of mad at her, but I was just like, I was really upset in the fact of she asked for it. Right. I got it for her. And she didn't want it in a sense. And I remember I was sitting on the steps at Meg while the kids were still opening. And we had about 2 hours before I needed to leave. And like, I wasn't like sulking or like being a sourpuss or anything, but it was just like, here we go. Of course, things are starting to get ruined on Christmas Day. And like, and I could like feel it coming in. And at that point, I'm like, Eric, like, just calm down. Like, there's a lot going on. She didn't feel good, really. So I'm like, you know, because she kind of was starting to not feel good a couple of days prior. Luckily, everything went well, but like, she wasn't feeling good. And I was sitting on the steps, and she was over by Meg on the couch. And I didn't say anything. I was just kind of watching and whatever. And Chandler turned around, and she just ran over to me and gave me a hug.
Oh.
And it just took it all away.
Yeah.
And Meg looked at me and she goes, they just know. She's like, she's like, are we going to get a Christmas tree? And I was like, fuck no.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It was right there. Like, I lied straight through my teeth to Meg.
Yeah.
And it took everything away and my Christmas was better.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds dumb, but it was just like, it was that fact of I was about to let something so small ruin my day.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was kind of afraid of it or like didn't want, and that bummed me out. I wanted my little girl to have the things she wanted for Christmas. And a few minutes later, she just, without saying a word, nothing was said to her. They were just kind of, she just ran and just kind of looked at me. And she just looked at me like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And man, like that, I think that was maybe a reason why that was one of my goals, where it was just like, dude, you can do this. I know that it was my little girl that kind of brought the Hulk back down to a human being, but like,
sun's getting real low.
Yeah. It's just the fact of it proved to me that I can do things like this and not be high strung or not try to look for always the negative things and stuff like that, where it's just on my day to day, whether it's with my kids, whether it's with the show or just life. And you're right. Just to know that I am God. And it's like, I'm really trying to focus on that and let him lead me where I need to go.
Right.
Because I think people, in my opinion, that you've said before too, maybe they pray wrong in the sense of fix this.
Right.
Give it to me.
There's a demanding nature without the humility heart, the humble heart. Like, yeah.
Where it's like, no, I know that you're not going to just give this to me. I need you to help me do these things. And like you said, he's going to test you.
Yeah.
It's not just because I pray for patience. That was part of it. Christmas Day. He went, here you go, man.
The biggest day of the year.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, are you going to let this ruin your whole fucking day? And, well, I'm sure Jesus didn't say that.
Right.
But it was just that you're right. He's going to throw more obstacles at you. You could argue that, is it the devil tempting you, or is it God giving you like something to try to overcome?
Right.
So it's like, that's a very fine line that gets flirted with there, I feel like. But so way to bring out the emotions.
Man, my mind was on Game of Thrones. So no, but no, man, dude, this is honestly what I love capturing, because, for anyone that doesn't know, the first name of the podcast that I came up with back in the day, if you want to say that, a couple years ago, but was the Fly on the Wall podcast, where it's like, that's literally what I wanted this to be, is that, people just get to be the fly on the wall, but it was taken.
Is it copyrighted? Because we could probably steal it.
We'll see. I'll do some. I'll have my lawyers look at it. So, but no, man, this is as raw and as real as we can be. And it's, where we're I guess you could say God-fearing dudes that are very broken, that try to make it work.
I'm fucking destroyed.
Yeah, right.
I'm shattered, dude. Like,
but the thing is that a pile is still together. So, and that's
a lot of glue.
No, but could you imagine just stay together? But no, you guys have heard our goals, and what I am very curious about is actually, what are some of your goals this year? Maybe you do have some New Year's resolutions, or you got some stuff that's on your mind. Let us know in the comments, and let us know how you like this video. And I would say most importantly is keep us accountable on our goals, and like whether it's through comments or messaging or anything like that. Like, that's something that I know for me, where it's like, I do need somebody to keep me accountable, and,
for sure.
and to be able to bounce things off of, and to know that we have people out there that enjoy what we do and only want to see more, and just the opportunities that can happen or anything like that. It gets me excited for the future, and just makes me hungry for what's next. And that to me is the biggest excitement I have, is let's get past New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then let's just see what the rest of the year is going to do. So, but nevertheless, guys, we hope that you've enjoyed this. And Eric, is there anything you would like the audience to know before we officially sign off until next week?
It's 2 days after Christmas. Take your fucking decorations down.
I agree. We love you guys. We'll see you in the next one. Adios.